Braverman apparently has promised action to stop climate activists holding the public to ransom. That was before those bozos climbed the Queen Elizabeth Bridge at the Dartford crossing, which is still closed. I don't know why the police have not reopened it. What difference does it make if you've got two characters up at the top of the bridge? If they fall down off wherever it is they are, it's their own fault, isn't it? For heaven's sake. Let's talk to Gavin Mortimer from The Spectator, who's over in France, because, of course, there's plenty to catch up with him on, not least the migrant situation. But why don't I ask you first, Gavin, a very good afternoon to you. You don't have climate protesters there, really, do you? I seem to remember the sort of the anti-globalist lot got carried away once when there was some kind of conference, a G7 or something in France, and they got pretty swiftly dealt with by the gendarmerie, didn't they?
They did, Mike. Whenever I want cheering up, I go on YouTube and Google, put in French police protesters and have a good laugh. The French police just go in. I think it was May. Some of them put themselves on the periphery, which is sort of the ring road going around Paris, glued themselves to the road. And the French police just went in and ripped their hands off. And they were screaming.
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah, that was great.
And, you know, and they pepper spray them. This is how you have to treat these people. If you don't, if you just go into the kid gloves, as the British police do, you know, they're just, it's anarchy. And I have to say, Mike, look, as a Brit looking in from the outside, you know, I despair of Britain at the moment. Politically, these bozos, as you say, running around throwing tomato ketchup on Van Gogh and going up the bridge. It's just... You know, the lunatics are...
But it's out of control because they know nothing's going to happen to them. I mean, what will happen eventually is members of the public will take matters into their own hands, and then we've really got a problem.
Yeah, we have, and it's out of control too at the channel, isn't it? Hundreds coming over each day because they know that no one's in charge of Britain at the moment. And it just does seem lawless.
It really does. I mean, we saw a story today which said that British taxpayers spent £1.2 million on translators for suspected Albanian criminals last year. We also know that the Albanian prison population is by far and away bigger than it ought to be in terms of the representation of people in the country from Albania. And we also know that so many Albanian criminals are coming across the channel because they can. Yeah,
it's always amazed me how much money is spent in translating the council and official documents in the UK into something like about 56 languages. In France, you speak French. If you want to be French, if you come to France, everything is French. And that's good. You know, I'm not a natural linguist. I've had to work hard to master French. And it's questionable whether
and it's not easy French either, particularly in Paris. I mean, you know, you think you know French until you go to Paris, and then they're talking this completely alien dialect, aren't they?
Absolutely. But, you know, that's how it should be. If you want to live in another country, you learn the language and you at least have respect for the cultures and traditions.
Yes. I was thinking of you the other day because I saw, and it doesn't get talked up much here in this part of the world because apart from on talkTV, because it doesn't suit the narrative, but there's an awful lot of cars I've noticed queuing for petrol in France. What's that all about? What's going on there?
Yeah, there's strikes at 5 of the refineries in France. It's been going on for 3 weeks. It's a pay dispute, and it's led by a hard left union, the CGT, who love causing maximum disruption. And about a third of French petrol stations have no more, they've run dry. So there's huge queues. It's been fairly patient so far, but tempers are fraying. But more seriously, Mike, it's now getting to the point where ambulances can't go on the roads because they've run out of petrol. Police cars are short of petrol. And it's all getting a bit tense and very serious. And Macron has, you know, he's increasingly powerless, and his sort of authority is drained away. There's a very funny leader in one of the French newspapers yesterday which said that in France everything is increasing except the authority of the president.
Yes.
So he's in trouble too, but not quite the trouble that Liz Truss is in.
I don't think anybody's been in as much trouble as Liz Truss is in, but I mean, you know, he's not got the power that he once had, has he, Macron? And the European Union itself is sort of under a lot more of a cloud than it was even, you know, just at the beginning of this year.
Absolutely is. It amazes me when I hear people in Britain, Ramonas, going on about how we need to rejoin the EU. Really? Have you seen the state of Germany, of France? There's a national strike tomorrow in France.
Yeah.
There's a big demonstration yesterday, about 40,000 people in Paris, which I went on as an observer, and organised by the left-wing parties and unions. And, you know, just a lot of seething discontent at the state of the country, rising prices, and Macron's indifference and even arrogance to what's going on. So yeah, France and the EU in general is in a mess.
Yeah, absolutely incredible stuff. And as far as the EU goes, in terms of their relationship with France politically, they're not too happy with Macron because of what he said about Russia and Ukraine, right, and the nuclear option.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the reaction there, Mike, because in France it really hasn't got much airtime, what he said. He was just reiterating France's nuclear deterrence. And I know Ben Wallace has criticised him, but the French view is, who cares what the British say? They don't, the British government is a laughing stock in France now, so they don't really pay any attention to what Ben Wallace says. What's going on in Ukraine is far less popular in France, both politically and in the media and on the street, than it is in the UK.
Yeah, it really is quite an extraordinary thing. Good to talk to you, Gavin. Thanks very much indeed. Gavin Mortimer from The Spectator telling us all about how it's not all that great over in France either. But the one problem we still haven't solved, and Suella Braverman is up for this as well, the migrant crisis continues. Thousands of people arrived over the weekend. More thousands will arrive this week. Meanwhile, who on earth is running the country?